since you have a quiz tomorrow, I'm actually going to show you the answer to every single problem, but I'm not going to go through it. So if you want to check your answers for every problem, you can pause the video and check your answers with the work that I have done there. I'm just going to talk about some common mistakes. So in number 1, we were naming. So remember, naming means that using the correct notation. Some of you might have made a mistake in letter B. Letter B is a ray, right? And it says name this in 2 different ways, but we want to remember that TZ, that way does not work. We always need to start that naming with the endpoint, okay? Also over here in number D, some of you might have had angle A, angle MAS, but another way would be SAM. So that's another way to name that angle, okay? A common mistake in number 2, okay, is to assume that these 2 angles here are equal and set up the equation 9x plus 3 equals 4x minus 7. Now that would only be if I told you that BC is an angle bisector. And notice I didn't tell you that here, so this equation is wrong, okay? Instead, I told you that the entire angle ABD is 48 degrees, and I know that each of these little parts is summing up to that full angle. So I can do a part plus part equals whole type of an equation. All right. So pause the video now if you want to check your other answers, because I'm going to move on to some other type of problems that we have. All right, so in number 3, we have the X, which means we have some vertical angles there. So as you can see, I put the tick marks the way that we've done it in class, and I gave you 2 expressions that are across from each other, which means they are equal. So that's where I got that equation. Now this little x squared up here, remember that means that we're going to have to factor. So before I factor, I need to make sure that I have set it equal to 0. Now that my now my equation is equal to 0, I can set up the box, and remember in the upper right hand box goes my x squared, the lower hand box goes my negative 140. I need 2 numbers that are multiplying to that house, negative 140, and then are adding to the negative 13. I believe these 2 numbers are going to be 7 and 20, and I think some of you might have had trouble figuring that out. Now, how do I get to a negative 140 and a negative 13? That means that one of my numbers has to be negative, and it actually has to be the negative 20, because 7 plus negative 20 is negative 13. So I then get the factors. Oh, excuse me. I can fill in the inside of my box. Negative 7x. Oh, sorry. Positive 7x. And negative 20x. And now I know the outside of my box is x and x, because x times x is x squared, x times negative 20 is negative 20x, and x times positive 7 is positive 7x. So my factors are now x plus 7 and x minus 20 equals 0, which means my equations can be x plus 7 equals 0 or x minus 20 equals 0, which gives me the 2 x values of negative 7 and 20. Okay? And in this case, I don't have any other expressions that I could plug into, so I know that both of those are going to work. All right, so pause the video now if you need to check number 4. It's color-coded for you to help you out, and then we'll flip to the back and check those answers. All right, so take a quick second and pause and check your answers here. I'm not going to go through this a ton. The only important thing that I'm going to point out is that you may have had to figure out using this triangle. I gave you the congruent statements that all 3 of those were equal, so they were all 360. And another note is 60 plus 60 plus 60, that equals 180 degrees, which we know all 3 angles in the triangle add to 180, okay? Other than that, if you need to check the rest of your answers, pause the video here and take a second to check numbers 5 and 6. Alright, so last but not least, we're going to go through number 7, okay? So an acute angle. Another answer you could have had was angle ETR. A right angle would be angle FTR. You could have also had that answer. A straight angle, there's only one in the picture, but we could have named it a different way, like RTI, okay? And an obtuse angle, this one's a little bit weird, right? So remember, obtuse is greater than greater than 90. I don't see that in the picture. I only see 90 and then two acute angles here. However, if I take this 90-degree angle and I add another acute angle and look at ITE, that has to be greater than 90, right? Actually, I think that's the only option that we could do, right? Because I can't add both of those angles because then it becomes a straight angle, right? Which we already named. And then be careful over here that make sure you don't forget to write the congruent statement, saying something is congruent to something else. We also need to make sure that we have that, okay? So you can check number 8 and pause the video, but other than that, I would go back and make your note card and study and go back through your notes and practice some more problems. And we'll see you tomorrow for the quiz. Good luck. Bye.